Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Front Lounge with Congos. This is episode 34. We've got special guests in the studio today, Jane Leo, who are an Austin-based band that Danny met out at a show, at a Canon show, I believe. We'll get into how we all met. We'll just say hi to Jane.
Hello.
And Daniel from
Hi.
Jane Leo. So we had them on to talk about things, but particularly this week, because this week we have a song of theirs that we did a remix, reimagining. I don't like that word remix anymore. It makes it feel like we're just going to
It boxes it in.
I mean, I like that music also, but this felt more like a reimagining, like we did, other than just chopping it up. So yeah, that's why they're on this week. That comes out this Friday. We're going to preview it here on the stream, but it'll be out Friday everywhere that streams are streamed. I'm going to show you real quick. We have Dylan is here. He's running cameras for us. We didn't want too many people on the stream talking. But so why don't we get into it? Danny, tell us how you met, and how that went.
Well, what were we doing? It was a bouncy castle, I think.
It's
right?
true.
Yeah. No, we're at a Canon show because we know. No, wait. It
Eve
wasn't
6,
a Canon
wasn't it?
show.
It was Eve 6,
Eve
yeah.
6
Yeah.
show.
No.
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 Oh, God.
You
Wait,
know
who
what it
are you
was?
guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you
Hi.
guys were opening for Cannons
Right.
here in Austin, and I was at the White Horse, which is
True. There it is.
it's like a cool, hip honky tonk bar. I don't want to say honky tonk because it's really more like it's where all the cool people in Austin go.
It's a trendy thing for sure.
Yeah, it is a nice place though. Anyway, I was at the White Horse and I saw
That's right.
Ben, the drummer for Fitness.
Oh, yeah, you
Canon.
were just there, right? You were just hanging out.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I saw Ben and Ben Hilsinger, or 10 as we call him. He's the best looking drummer in the world. And he drums for Eve 6, Cannons, and Fitness. So I saw him and Justin, and it felt like I was in the Twilight Zone because I was like, "What the hell are you guys doing here?" I
Yeah,
didn't know
why
Cannons
would you
were
be in
town.
this bar?
Anyway, we met there, and then got to talking and checked out their stuff. He sent me some stuff. It's awesome stuff. What's the first track you sent? Tell Me. I mean, is that the?
Yeah, that's it.
That was a great track, and then Big Life, and I said, yeah, let's remix that.
Escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Moved to third base really quick.
Right. From
Yeah, it
White
was
Horse
like,
to
yeah.
remix. You know?
Within a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourselves and like how you guys came to be formed, because it's relatively new, right? Jane Leo as a band. You've obviously been musicians forever, I'd assume. But
Sure. I mean, it's to the world, it's brand new. But with the luxury, I'll call it a luxury of the pandemic, we had many years to decide and flesh out ideas. Where 3 years ago we had the idea, hey, let's we're a couple, we live together, let's start making some money, let's do some sync music, and we started broad stroke ideas, and then the world shut down, and it's like, well, no better time to get very serious about life and music. Why don't we do it together? And as soon as the world started opening up again, we're like, oh, we got to get back to it. So we tried playing a show or two, and it was like, that was probably the worst decision we made in those 3 years. It was like, no, come back in and focus on what's important. And,
you mean you just didn't want to get trapped into the gigging too early, where you're just chasing after gigs and not focusing on recording and really getting the diamonds
and,
ready.
Sure.
Yeah.
And in those 2 years, we as musicians, we all missed, or we thought we missed playing shows live. It's like, that's part of our identity. And then you get out there and you're like, wait, that's part of it that was like, I don't know, better thought about sometimes than actually you're in the moment, in the back of the bar. You're like, what the fuck am I doing?
I like the after the show hanging out on the bus or going out to the bar.
Yeah.
That's in some ways more of the fun. I mean, not to shit on playing shows. Like, obviously music is fun to play, but it can you can burn out on it.
It's daunting.
Pretty quickly.
And it's a different set of muscles too. That absolutely need consistency. You can't just get back out there and play the big show. And
Well, I was going to say, I think it's easy to feel like you're doing a lot just because you have like shows, but if you don't have the foundation there and the songs and like a bigger idea of what you're going for, it's easy to get really distracted and caught up in that. So that's why the pandemic for us was a good time to kind of build that.
It's really apparent here in Austin because there's so many amazing musicians that don't, and they'll be like, I've never released anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, that's fine. You know, there's, I think that's valid in its own right, just to be alive, to experience music that way. But some of them should just like stop doing stuff and go record because it's worthy of that, you know.
Yeah.
It's an overemphasis on the live thing, but I guess that's what Austin's about.
I mean, yeah, I'm feeling the exact opposite because, like, we go on about this so much. Like every podcast, we talk about the fact that there's 100,000 streams coming out on Spotify every day. It just doesn't feel possible and often to click or connect with anyone, even though like you have an infinite audience of all humans that have access to the internet. Just like we're starting to feel more like we've been playing a couple open mics in Wimberley, like middle of nowhere bars, just showing up and playing like 3 songs on accordion and guitars, and that feels good again. To just be like, okay, this is what it was actually about. Yeah. And where there's no pressure, we're not trying to sell tickets.
Sure.
And that sort of thing. So like, that's where we're at, I think, in terms of thinking on that. But I totally understand what you're saying. And there is something like when it happens to a lot of bands also, if they have a successful first album, you know, they spent like 5 years making that album.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hit the road and then there's no time
There's nothing to
distill
follow
anymore.
up with it. Yeah. That's, I mean, so we have the first album through the pandemic, and that's kind of like what you're saying. You have like your entire life to write your first album, right? And that's why so many bands, we can go down a list of like, oh my God, their first album was just the grand slam. But again, I mean, we're still residually feeling the positivity of locking ourselves in a room or a house or, you know, West Texas or wherever, because we're the first Jane Leo album comes out in February, and you know we've already been sitting on that for like 2 years, right? And plus, and then but we already have our second album 90% done, and also some stuff for the third record. You know what I mean? It's like, when have we ever existed in that positive space? You know, it being in bands for the past 20 years, you're just like, oh my God, we have all this pressure on us to do this and timelines and everything else, and it's, you know, just taking a step back, big step back to zoom out and look at things has been really cool in the ramping up process as well. You're like, no, I actually hate this about myself or music or whatever it is. I don't want to include that in this next next thing. You know, it's
I don't think I've ever experienced that. No, I guess if
hating
who
yourself?
said that? No,
wow,
definitely that. No,
enlightened.
No, it's I was gonna say I don't think I've experienced liking what I've released.
That's bullshit. Yeah, you have.
No, I was gonna say who said it? Someone said it basically. With enough time, I forget what I hate about it. You know?
True. True.
And that, if enough time goes by, then I have been listening. Sounds bizarre, but I've been listening to Congas in the car recently because enough time has passed that I'm just now listening a little more, and some of it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You've heard of that band?
Well,
huh?
hey, this is a
Congos?
question I wanted to ask you. What's the worst lyric you've ever written, and do you know what it is? I'll go first because Whoa, come with me now. Per dollar, greatest lyric I've ever written. There's an album of ours, a song of ours called "The Trouble Is" on the first album, and like all my songs are the same bullshit. Like, oh, who am I? Pseudo existential crisis bullshit. But this one, you know, was young, and the lyric from the chorus is, "The trouble is, I've lost myself. The trouble is, I can't find my way." And when I listen back to that, I like the song melodically, harmonically, like the treatment and everything. And that lyric, I know it's not the worst lyric you've ever heard, but for me, I'm like,
what are you
so
talking
many
about,
better
kid?
ways I could have said that, and it just felt like so on the nose. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a good problem to have, because you're just like, you know, I'm a man now looking back at a kid that didn't have the direction that you have now. That's understandable. At least it wasn't like something you can't live with.
Last week's song.
Yeah.
You got one that you guys can think of?
I'm looking down my lyrics. I don't like any of them.
Right, there you go. All songs.
Oh, wait, see, from an outside perspective, that doesn't really bother me that much, because sometimes like poetry for the sake of poetry annoys the shit out of me.
There you go.
Let's do it the other way.
What?
Why is "Big Life" your worst lyric?
That's a good
awesome lyric.
I mean, there's some moments in that song where it was written like right in the moment. I remember the exact time and place we were, and then releasing that song. Like you're saying, you're listening to Congo songs now, and you're like, "Man, that's pretty good." And that's how I feel about Big Life. Because in the moment, it was like, you can't talk about vaccines in a song. And this was written before any of that shit actually happened. It was just something that I was going.
Just a pure coincidence?
Well, kind of, because we draw from our lives, but I have an 11-year-old daughter, and the schools are constantly, well, especially now, but let's rewind 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Vaccines were 100% like, hey, if you like them, great. If you don't, that's cool too. But but the school kept hitting me up by mistake, like 4 emails on one day, like, did you book your flu shot or whatever? And I was sort of like talking to Jane. I was like, what the entire fuck are they pestering me about this flu shot already? Jesus Christ. I had no idea what was about to come, you know what I mean? And like, next thing you know, it's in the lyric. But then as we're like mixing the song, it's like apparent that I know we talked before in the waiting room of this, we said no politics, no whatever. But as we were mixing the song, it was like the very, very height of the pandemic, and our engineer and our producer, and none of us had seen each other in months, but we're all in a room, and we're mixing this thing, and this line keeps happening over and over again. Vaccine, the whole world's vaccinated, and everyone's kind of like looking at each other. And we spent half a day just like staring at each other, and it was like, this was written so long ago. It's so weird how this.
Right. You stumbled into the most hot button topic for like a year or two or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is like the myopia about certain topics and how they captivate the world. That, and then now it's whatever controversy is going on.
For sure.
I mean, I had the same thing because
we have a more innocuous version of that story.
Innocuous, yeah.
There it is.
Oh, yeah. But our album we put out called Egomaniac, we had this somewhere in here. There's a picture of it. This giant gorilla was the cover of the album, and I was like a week or like sometime very close before the album came out. Harambe, that gorilla, got shot. Right. So everyone thought we'd put fucking Harambe on our album cover, and ours was just like Danny found this photo that looked really cool, like this gorilla posturing. And our album's called Egomaniac. We're like, oh, that's a funny thing, and then fucking someone shoots Harambe, and everyone thinks we're like making a Harambe
and also
album.
It was 2016, and people thought it was all Trump related. I mean,
one was.
Egomaniac, we titled
Trump,
it before. It was more just like this sense that ego was in the air or whatever. I mean,
these guys are so political.
Yeah, it's always been in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, what did I to quote myself here? What did I say? I forgot to. A controversy got sent up to space and delivered to your living room, and I was like, that was also. It's obviously there's something in the air, or there's anticipation. So whatever you're writing is usually related to the future to a degree as well. Mm-hmm. There's a phrase I like the idea that Thursday influences Tuesday, and there is, we experience things linearly, but there's a part of us, I think, that's anticipating what's coming.
I agree.
And
I agree with that.
That applies to everything in your personal life, the political life. I wouldn't be surprised if war is mentioned a lot now in lyrics.
Yeah. But both of you dodged my question. What is the worst lyric you've written? Well, fine. Do it. Like I said, do it opposite. What's the worst? What lyric of mine do you hate?
Fuck. What are the ones I like again?
Dislike.
No, I know. I gotta go. I wasn't prepared for this. I gotta think of your lyrics.
What about the second verse of "Come With Me Now"? That's pretty clunky.
How does it go?
I don't know. I can never remember.
You blacked it out.
Dylan,
you know whose lyrics annoy me the least is Dylan's.
Yeah.
Generally, although I'm not crazy about Flash Flood.
That's because he doesn't have a microphone. You said that.
Right. No. Jesse is very polarizing. His lyrics for me, like sometimes I really like them, and other times I can't stand them. Dylan's grate me the least. Yours, I like. What annoys me about you is when you try to like justify a lyric. He's like, well, it makes sense because of this and this and this. I'm like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Man.
No one's gonna even understand what you're talking about.
It's so refreshing to hear y'all.
It's really great to hear this, guys.
Hear this, yeah, because like that, we don't really ever fight except for about lyrics.
That's
and
it.
It's like what has just pushed us so fucking hard against each other is like me justifying, like, I think this is the thing, but do you really? And then he pushes in, and I'm really grateful for it, because it's like, when you said, what's your worst lyric? Like, I thought of like 900 songs
really?
of mine.
Hit me.
That when, just writing as like an 18-year-old, 20-year-old, you just like say right, as you said, like right on the nose. Let me just say that, the sky is blue and I'm sad, or whatever.
Can I use that?
Yeah. But so, I listened back to those and I'm like, okay, like I wish someone had, but you listen to mainstream music, there's not really any incentive to go deeper because many things are not doing that. But
well, yeah, it's dangerous to listen to mainstream music because you can start thinking like anything's acceptable.
Exactly.
And we do that sometimes. Like if we're working on music that's not particularly like a conga song, it's just for sync or something. We've been meaning to do a stream of this because we get these prompts from our sync company and they're like, it's a car commercial, but like there's doctors and a little kid, and we're looking for uplifting. Like you've seen those pictures 1,000 times. We cannot ever write a lyric that just doesn't turn into the most cynical thing ever because we're just like, this is so dumb.
It is.
I got one here.
Oh,
people on the stream know that Jesse is typing his Congress music.
Oh yeah. So if you're seeing Jesse typing on this, or if you're seeing Congress music, type on Twitch. That's Jesse. We're covering all. Oh.
Oh, to me, I said I either really like or really don't like them. Here's one. It's in my lyrics, in my notes app. I keep all my lyrics. Drug-fueled conversations solving the problems of nations. I don't know. I just want to. It's like
That was a lyric you wrote?
Apparently. I didn't remember it. It's fucking.
Did it make it out
just
into the
annoys
world?
me. Like it's like.
Is this just like
there's more to it,
Oh.
but some of it's not horrendous. But it's like. It feels high school to me, like I'm making a point.
And where did those come from, though? Was it under the pressure of like, oh man, we've got an album coming up, or this was just like a random thought you had?
Half of my lyrics are at 3 a.m. Some, I don't even remember, but I just write down a phrase and then justify that phrase with the rest of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know you keep bringing up the fact that I always like to justify lyrics, and I think that's actually a personality trait of mine, is to try and make things orderly, and like
What's
I
your
like
sign?
to Cancer.
Okay.
Does that fall in line?
Oh, I don't know. I was just gonna say
Jane
you're the
just
same
asked-
as me. So
Jane asks that question all the time, just randomly.
Yeah, and I've been trying to do less of that because, like, as we'll get into, we talk a little bit later in the podcast about our favorite lyrics, and so often in this podcast we end up talking about Bob Dylan or Paul Simon, like obviously two of the greats, and how often, particularly Bob Dylan's lyrics, are impossible to really interpret in any logical way, and yet they work. And
he also oscillates between complete directness and then something completely metaphorical.
Yeah, it balances it out.
It's not. So, like Your Trouble Is lyric, I don't really have a problem with that because in the right context, it's pretty honest, basically.
yeah, I'm not saying it's bad, like it's disingenuous. I felt what I felt at that time. It's just, it was just too on the nose, and I feel that's typically been a problem of mine. If I'm more objective, looking back at my lyrics, is that a lot of them are like that, and you guys have always basically criticized that, not even in a bad way, just like said, maybe there's a more poetic way to say that.
I mean, do you guys get invested in each other's verses? Like, let's say you write a verse, do you come in and say, no, you gotta change this, and that, or do you kind of say, okay, you got that, I'll get the next one?
Lately, like I think that people are kind of self-correcting more now, but previously, if something was not sitting right, it's more for me. It's more the feel and the phrasing of it. It's not because some sort of idea. I just think ideas are wrong anyway. So all
thinking.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you get it right. It's more like, does it feel right? Yeah.
Let's go to the chat real quick, because Stardude10 says, is Danny and Johnny having a competition of who can have...
Danny, dickhead.
Yeah.
Stardude, okay, let's give him the
saying?
fucking attention he's been
Read it out, read it out.
Stardude, fuck off, dude. What do you think? I have been working on this my entire life. I have been plucking it out hair by hair, and I'm finally at the point that I got it, and now you're coming in and saying Johnny's got less hair than me. Like, as
Rude.
I've been trying to win this competition forever.
That's really...
all right. We should tell everyone.
It's insensitive.
Like, I feel like we should do something here real quick. Check out Jane Leo Music on Instagram. All your handles the same on YouTube and everything. So Jane Leo Music. For anyone that's not seeing this, it's Jane Leo Music, as you would expect it to be spelled. You guys' aesthetic and everything on Instagram is so good that it makes me always question our Instagram.
Oh.
Because ours is such a clusterfuck shit pile of like dumb videos from me, random things. Every now and then you'll see like we'll do 3 posts where we're like, oh, we have an aesthetic starting to come together, and then one of us changes our mind and posts a dumb dog video or something. It's obviously a conscious decision you made. Is it hard? Like, do you feel stuck to that? Because like we've been talking, like you're funny people that like make jokes and that sort of thing, and like how do you deal with that? You just like separate it out in your head in terms of what you present on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did put a lot of thought and intentionality into like how we wanted to present ourselves, and we work with a really great friend of ours named Aaron Brooke, who's taken most of those photos that you see and has like helped us from the beginning kind of style whatever. And so we just have this backlog of photos that can make our Instagram look really clean and concise.
Yeah, because it's really is one of the best I've seen.
Thank you.
Particularly of like you expect it when a band has like 100 million followers because they've just got the whole team of everyone shooting, but to see you guys doing it, and like you're saying, it's a friend, that's really helpful if there's someone you trust to portray it the way you do.
We always like really put a lot of thought in Pinterest boards and things into like how we want to come across, and it's authentic to like who we are, but it's also like the elevated. We don't walk around.
What's great about this whole thing is I've worked with Aaron for about 12 years now, and Steve is our other good friend who lives down the block from us, who's an amazing photographer, and he was tour manager for my other band, and he got that gig because he started just taking photos, and then what do you do on the road for the other 23 hours of the day besides soundcheck? Anyways, with this familiarity with these two people, it's so easy for them to come in and be, whether it's fly on the wall. For me personally, working with Steve and Aaron, they're a fly on the wall for me. For Jane, I wouldn't say heavy-handed, but they come in and suggest, Aaron is also a wardrobe stylist on a bunch of TV shows and movies and everything like that. So it's super easy for them to work together. But it was the conscious decision of just coming out of the gate, hey, black and white. That's a huge decision. I mean, it's an easy one. You say color, black and white, easy. But just stick with, stay in that lane. And with black and white, you look back at tons and tons of bands were only able to shoot in black and white because of technology. And you look back at that and you say that's instant nostalgia if you dive into the black and white world and stay there. But even more recently, when Leon Bridges started, he spent his first 2 years in black and white. And I know his photographer pretty well, and that, I think she made that decision, and the label loved it. And, what we're doing is a very nostalgic, I wouldn't say sound. In some aspects, the sound is nostalgic, but visually speaking, we draw all our references from film noir and,
Some of the sound is nostalgic. Tell Me is nostalgic. I always think of they're almost like Everly Brothers harmonies.
I think the songwriting entirely is 1,000% nostalgic, and then
but then the production is
right. Yeah. Trying to implement newer sounds and whatnot. But that the stacked harmonies, just 2, because in pop they'd have maybe 9 harmonies singing that line, right?
Yeah, and there's something unique about. There's tons of people did it, but the Everly Brothers epitomized it, where you have these harmonies which switch roles occasionally, moving lines, and you guys do that live.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Jesse's reminding me on the chat thread here. He says we got in trouble with Epic Records for doing I Want to Know video in black and white.
Son of a bitch.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's the good thing
about...
about...
on the bottom.
Yeah.
We're at the point where we can do whatever the fuck we want. So
that's true.
It's kind of nice to be able to come out the gate the way we want to. But, all of our videos have not stayed only black and white. The very first one was started in black and white and then went to this cool neon thing and back to, so we've been able to step outside of those boxes. And like you were saying, the fun personal videos, we're still finding the balance of how do you have a TikTok and be this kind of mysterious, cool thing that you've really artistically
Yeah.
curated.
How do you stay nostalgic in TikTok when
you
it's just
can't.
like
Yeah.
girls with no clothes on and whatever cat videos or whatever? How do you?
Yeah.
I think you need maybe like those like 1950s bikinis or something.
Oh,
I don't
right,
know. That'd
yeah.
be like
I can't wait.
TikTok nostalgia.
I gotta find
That's
that.
Trying
right in that line.
Having a thought that begins with "How do you" on TikTok is the first mistake.
Right,
And
right.
we have that thought all the time because it's impossible. You can't ignore new things that come along
Sure.
as a band. You got to get involved in them. But every now and then, when you scroll through the TikTok feed, I just have this horrible feeling inside of like,
Me
too.
what
My
the
soul dies.
fuck
Yeah.
am I doing?
Impending
Yeah.
doom. Impending
It's
doom.
Yeah.
horrific.
Yeah.
I think it's especially applicable to when people use the same sound. Where like a sound becomes popular, so
Yeah.
everyone makes the same video to that.
It's horrendous.
Yeah.
Neither band in this room is subscribing to the what song can we lip sync to? There's no chance we could do that. There's not.
Oh shit! So we should cancel.
Yeah,
we'll
cancel
the
that series
thing
that you
we-
guys are about to do because it's not gonna fly. But I mean, we'll lip sync y'all's songs and y'all can lip sync our songs. Maybe that's
Well, now that might be something.
It
I
might
mean,
be
I'd be an
something.
audience of like 5.
right,
but
exactly. I mean,
it'll
those
be a
5
very strong audience.
Star Dude will be there.
Yeah.
Star Dude. Simple, don't use
Simple,
TikTok.
don't
That's the
use
first good thing you've said all day, Star Dude.
There's some valid stuff on TikTok, chef stuff. My
yeah,
favorite
that's what I was
thing,
gonna
thing
get
about
to
social
here.
media is chef stuff.
Let's do a bit of news.
News, events, important, gossip, stories, terrifying, concerning.
This is the news.
This is the news. This is the news.
This is the news.
What is SF?
So this story's a little old, I mean, a
it's
few
like
days
their,
old. But
online newspaper in San Francisco.
yeah, so San Francisco Police Department, they voted, or the city voted 8-3 or something, I
Yeah,
believe,
yeah.
to approve the use of drones using deadly or lethal force in San Francisco.
That's such a huge statement. Is that like in what capacity though? Is that just like a blanket? Like y'all are fucked. Like,
I read the article, sort of. I'm
Right.
lying, I didn't actually read the article,
Right,
but I
right.
read the
You read
first
the headline.
The headline and like the first paragraph. But there are conditions. It's when X, Y, and Z has been tried, a member of the public or a police officer's life is at risk, and it like they're thinking like terrorism, some
Sure.
big type event. But it's like it always starts that way. Like
Right, right.
we're only
Of
going to
course,
use it
of course.
if, and then a year from now they're going to just be shooting some innocent
No
person,
doubt.
like a drone's going to be shooting it. It's this shit.
And then how
we
do
talk
you,
about it
like,
a lot. Robots
prove
on this thing. Who ordered the drone
Yeah,
to do
and
it?
it's-
Elon Musk, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's one obvious point is it's been going on in war forever.
Drones.
like sending drones
yeah,
in. for
using
sure.
robots to go.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, it's unstoppable. I don't think you can't take the technology away. They're always going to use it. It's when you see it rolling out into just like what will eventually be everyday life.
Yeah.
Like even driving around Austin, because Austin's such a tech-friendly city
right.
now. You see those
Little
delivery
robots going by. Yeah.
going by, and part of you's like, "Oh, cool!
Right.
I can get a shitty pizza from wherever quickly." And then the other
That's
part
all
is
you
like,
can get in Austin, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Shitty pizza.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I meant to bring this up at the beginning of the podcast. Is you were quoted as saying,
Oh, hit me.
"Austin food is terrible." That's not a direct quote, but I'm
that's-
approximating it.
That's
right?
all you need is an approximation, because that's all you get in Austin for food is an approximation of what food should be. That's it. I mean,
I love this. We had cigars with Daniel the other day, and we were talking about because I had been to some Italian restaurant that was like super highly rated on Yelp.
sorry.
Like everyone's
Sorry to hear
raving
that.
about it. Had to get fucking reservations and all that. Like went out the one night. Like my wife and I got her mom to come
Yep,
babysit. Like
yep.
first night we'd been out in a long time, and sat down, and it wasn't bad. Like it made you sick or it was disgusting. It was just so pathetic for the amount of money they were charging and everything, particularly for Italian. Because
think about everything you just said, how much effort and energy you put into going out to patronize a place, and you get there and this is the letdown you get every single time you leave your house. I mean, look, Austin, I'm not from Texas. So Jane, if you want to cover your ears or do whatever you need to do, she's born and raised in Texas, and Actually, that's the only person in the room from Texas. So
Yeah.
don't take too much
I
offense
won't.
to it, but take offense to it and do something about it. Change. Talk to your people because we need something to change here. It's like if you put in, because we all get hopeful. We're all from places that have had good food, in our, So we're like, oh yeah, okay, this new place, it's got to be good. It says it on Yelp. It says it online. It says it everywhere. But then you have to realize like everyone's taste buds here are totally burnt out and. They're used to a commodity that you pay for and you get it, and maybe people are just like happy with the experience
yeah.
enough. I don't know, like with the food you guys.
I just didn't
rancid.
know. I grew up going, eating queso and chips every weekend. Or
Where in Texas were you from? Austin? Oh, from
yeah.
Austin?
And until you like travel and really like have and eat at the right places and have the experience of like, wait, you can get like, this is Thai food? Like, whoa! Like I've never had Thai food before. I'm just realizing, I'm sure there are some like really, really, really expensive high end places in Austin that are new and people are like raving about. But where's the just like you're driving around, you're
like
hungry, you need
basic
to pick
restaurant
something
is
up.
not good.
Yeah,
I agree with like people always. Whenever I talk about the food in a place, they'll be like, "Well, what about this place? Which
Always.
you'll spend $200 at." First of
Yeah.
all, it's not that good. Secondly,
Right.
that's not the metric by which you
No.
judge the food in a place. Because
Right.
in a good food city, even in New York, one of the most expensive cities on earth, you can get good, decently priced meals.
sure.
And
For sure.
so I judge like the quality of food in a city by a basic meal. And South Africa is surprisingly good with all that kind of stuff. Like Italian food's amazing there.
You know why it's so good? Because that's how far away from Austin it is. That's how you can tell it's good. I'm just kidding.
We joked about this, but I would love to just do a podcast with
we need to,
Daniel.
yeah.
We go out each week to a restaurant. The only thing is I don't actually like shitting on specific restaurants. Like I don't want to kill anyone's.
you're right.
And not that we have any influence, but like it's like they're doing their best.
Yeah,
to
they're
feed
doing
their
what
family,
everyone's
but maybe
doing,
there's
sure.
a way to do it where it's mildly anonymous, and we can still talk shit about it without like destroying people's careers or
Sure.
like I don't want to be one of those people that's like I'm here at XYZ Pizza.
Right,
It's
right.
fucking shit. You
Yeah,
should
yeah.
never eat here.
Maybe we can make a list of the positives and the negatives, like very clean bathroom, terrible hummus, whatever it is, whatever, I don't,
Yeah.
there's got to be a way to, I don't know, I'm not saying, maybe we are the beginning of the
Have you been to-
revolution, I
have-
don't
You've
know.
been to Houston though, right?
Yeah, a couple
The
times.
food's
sure.
way better there.
Oh yeah, I mean, low-hanging fruit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, also it's one of those things like when you go on tour around America through the Midwest, which is like a food desert, you're thankful that Indian food exists
yep.
because we always say this, like no one's casually opening an Indian
Right,
restaurant in Kansas. It's going to be
Sure.
an Indian family that knows what the fuck they're doing and saves you because otherwise you're just eating like actual shit. I mean, like,
Although the problem with Indian food I find now is that it's most of it is starting to taste the same,
yeah, it's definitely become
homogenized.
homogenized.
Whereas there's a Thai food restaurant in LA called Jitlada, and it's good because it's got like 3.5 stars on Yelp, and people
Right.
complaining about shit all
Right.
the fucking time. Like they're always like, I had to wait this long to get. It's like, just
Worth it.
yeah. Well, not only that, just people who are too obsessed with customer service,
Right.
they're fucking
They
so
ruin,
annoying.
they ruin the name.
Yeah, but the food is unreal there. Half the
Speaking
time
of-
the kitchen's not working.
Speaking of
but-
food, we started following this dude on Instagram. What's his name? Chef Max Mariola, Italian chef. He makes very simple. I mean, he makes some fairly complicated dishes, but when he just makes something like penne arrabbiata,
yeah.
Yeah.
But then he
watch
kind of
this.
like molests your ears.
Hungry, spicy. Ingredients: penne pasta, garlic, spicy red pepper, fresh or dry, parsley, and canned peeled tomatoes, extra virgin olive oil, the good stuff.
But see, I learned like that. He's putting the parsley stems, and cooking
nice.
it with the garlic and the
Yep.
oil, then removes it, and then puts the crushed or really like fine garlic.
Nice.
Like this shit is good. There's no way that what he's making is not good.
So satisfying to
Crush
watch
the
people.
tomatoes. Look at this pasta, rough like homemade. I like the sauce when it's
Anyway, you get the idea.
Wait,
Give
you
him.
gotta wait, you gotta
oh
leave it.
shit! It's gonna have to watch the whole thing again.
Yeah.
You get the idea.
And he works out too, obviously.
Yeah.
He ends every video like going with the pan and saying, "This is the sound of love." And it's so. Initially, I was like, "Jesus Christ, dude!
Right.
Why are you doing this?"
Don't need that.
But now I've grown to like his gimmick, which is to make like a sex sound with the pasta.
Right. There's another woman named the Pasta Queen, and she just got like she put a book out, and she's like #1 on like some, high profile like New York Times or something like that. And it's almost the same, but a woman, and y'all would actually love her because she goes down videos of people making pasta that's rancid. I mean, like unacceptable. And she's like, absolutely not. She starts swearing in Italian and stuff. It's great because you see her expression.
There's a guy I follow called Chef Reactions.
Oh,
he's
perfect.
the same thing. He basically just reacts to videos and
it's needed, and I think that's why our future podcast would work. It's like throw them under the bus in a very kind way, because it's like there's never going to be change if someone doesn't fucking bring it,
Yeah, I mean, it is a problem these days. I think the over positivity of everything, because everyone's pretending that they're positive, and it's about music. Also, it's about film, television. Everyone's like, it was great. It was great. It was great. Like, not everything is great.
So here, in defense of critics, because I used to be.
They need jobs too.
Right, but I used to be vehemently opposed to the idea of critics because so often they are just, kind of. I don't know, these kind of nothing people who don't do anything.
Right.
But as opposed to the algorithmic approach of like Yelp, where everything just approaches this kind of median, a critic at least can direct an individual opinion. And the problem with a Yelp thing, where everything is just by consensus, is you end up with homogenized taste and just homogenized everything. And the same thing applies to any kind of review-based system. So I kind of prefer or I miss like a single voice.
Totally.
It's more stimulating than it is like Rotten Tomatoes ratings. It's fucking meaningless. Who cares? It's much better to have Roger Ebert, even though half the time I thought he was a fucking idiot. It's much better to have that as a point of discourse than it is to have some sort of
it's
data point,
There was a good aspect to certain gatekeepers.
Right.
Because they got it right occasionally. Whereas
or
now,
wrong, but at least it stoked individual thought as opposed to just everything being distilled down to some sort of data point. It's like, what's the guy on CNN pointing at a map? That's like Yelp now, and everything is just like this graph and a data point. And how was the salsa? Same as this other fucking place.
We need some more graphs on Austin food, I think. We got to try some things, guys. We got to do something. Get some math analysis going on it.
So let me just show this screen real quick. I don't know if you guys have messed around with Mid-Journey, the AI bots.
No, but I've seen a lot of people posting about
we started doing it just like they're going crazy. Tell me what the prompt. So this was Congress the band as podcasters.
Yeah.
So these are AI art generation tools that you can go join the Discord and make your own. It's insane where this is going. We are all out of a job soon. There's Danny
that's
as
great.
a king.
As a medieval king.
That's
God playing the accordion.
God playing the accordion.
Yeah. What was this one?
The band Congress fighting underwater.
Oh.
What was that one?
Band Congress as ranchers or something?
It was Texas cattle ranchers.
Like, it's insane. I don't know what the end result of this is for humanity and everything, but it's insane.
They do this with music too, right? I mean, AI music.
Oh,
that's
this
the top
one I did
100
modify.
on Spotify.
I actually just put in Arnold playing acoustic guitar, but then I made the title Learning to Play Come With Me Now because I thought that was funny.
This Dylan did Songland Farms his farm in 2040 or something.
That's actually...
Then we typed in Jane Leo doing the podcast with Congos and got this. So obviously it doesn't look like us, but it's just weird how accurate it can get. And the more famous someone is,
the more reference points.
The more reference points.
Right.
Like we put us in, you don't get much, but...
You just get some sort of generic bearded kind of...
Yeah, you just see a lot of hair.
Yeah.
Like from before Danny and I decided to go down the English DJ route.
Right, yeah.
Here, I wanted to play this. This might hit a little too close to home.
I make the beats, I write the lyrics, I record it, I mix it and master it. I make the album art, I do the distribution, promoting, and then I cry because no one listens to it.
I hate when TikTokers fucking pierce me to the soul. Let me see what else. I know we played this guy
of the Tom Cruise.
Okay, so Tom Cruise. Just watch this video. I'm gonna have to explain it a little bit just so people that are listening. It's a BBC interviewer showing him these memes that people have been making with Tom Cruise, and this is Tom Cruise reacting to it. I just want to see how you guys react to Tom Cruise reacting.
Are you aware of the Tom Cruise clinging off things meme?
No.
So I've got this on my phone. Hopefully you'll love it. But essentially, this is Tom Cruise. You were hanging off Free Willy there. There you are. That's you hanging off a cat.
That's fantastic.
This one, there's Darth Maul falling to his doom. And there you are.
I'm hanging
off the side. I was obsessed with this.
Oh my God, why hasn't anyone shown me that before? That is hilarious.
Well, you haven't seen anything yet, because here's you hanging off Nick Cage.
So I don't know if it's just my prejudice, but he seems like in the back of his head he's going, like he's calling his intern's name, like find who did this and let's wipe them off the planet. Does it not come across that way to you?
No, not to me. To me, it comes across as though he treats it's the nature of a person who's that famous all the time, and who he's a bit like like Tom Hanks and him. Like they have like an image to upkeep. They never let their guard down ever.
Right.
And it comes across as like especially kind of like manically psychotic, but.
Yeah, he seems just like a little overly enthused.
Yeah, it's very, very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Having said that, we got into this last week on our podcast that he's the better Tom actor out of Hanks and Cruise.
For sure, yeah.
And, dude, I think we cracked the code on how to blow up on TikTok or Instagram if you want, because we have our Instagram account for this podcast. It's got like 300 followers, no interaction, nothing. And we got into a rant about how we all think as a hive mind that Tom Hanks is a horrific actor. And we don't have to revisit that, but posted a clip from that and people lost their shit.
So also the Thanksgiving. I feel like, first of all, Tom Hanks is the equivalent of Thanksgiving food. So they were related. We were talking shit about Thanksgiving food too, and that was polarizing for some reason.
Sure. Yeah, you're hitting on some very sore spots.
But you made a good point, which I feel like should be made. If Thanksgiving food is, let's just continue this. If Thanksgiving food is good, where the fuck are the Thanksgiving food themed restaurants?
Sure.
It's once a year you eat this way. So you like this food so much that you just never eat that way the rest of the year? Or do people eat kind of like unsalted mashed potatoes all year round?
Welcome to Texas. Back to it. I mean, we have an establishment. What is it called? Luby's?
Luby's.
Isn't that the name of the spot? Where you like go and like take your tray up and it's like Thanksgiving year round.
Yeah.
Oh, it closed. There you go. Perfect. We're winning here. We're winning.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So the problem, I mean, you're Italian, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're Greek. You're the only one representing Texas here.
Well,
Detroit has good food.
I'll tell you what, if you want to go viral on
food,
Instagram, here's what we should talk shit about is Austin barbecue. And I can't even talk about it because I'm vegetarian. You eat barbecue here.
Do you like the barbecue?
You got to be careful that it's Texas. They might do more than just write mean comments.
I mean, they're. I think they realized that it became too much of a thing. You know, remember when back on 10 years ago on the internet, people would talk about bacon, how much they like bacon. That was like a thing spread like a kind of virus.
I missed that.
But barbecue, I would say, it makes sense. It was a way to make bad cuts of meats or tough cuts palatable. You know, so the barbecue is pretty decent. My problem with the barbecue here is all the sides. Everything's way too sweet. It's just like sweet stuff everywhere. Like the potato salad is always too mayonnaisey, and I think that it lacks personality. Basically, it's like sweet. It's just kind of sweet.
It's overcompensated with sweetness for sure. A lot of stuff. I mean, even our tea is hyper sweetened sweet tea, but I think that's a southern thing.
We're just shitting on.
No, the actual barbecue is good.
Yeah, shit, guys. I don't even know how to.
I mean, have y'all been to Lockhart yet for the barbecue?
No.
Yeah, that's supposedly the capital of
is that where
Texas
Black's
barbecue.
is from, right?
Blacks,
okay,
yeah. And
So I've been to a bunch of places, and I thought the actual barbecue from Terry Black's, which is his son, right?
I'm not sure. We were trying to figure that out.
There's so many Blacks.
Because there's a Blacks, and the Terry Blacks just moved into town as well. So who knows?
I thought that the actual barbecue was good. I just thought the sides were bad.
It'd be interesting.
But also, like, I only eat it very occasionally because the meat tastes so weird to me. Like, it's as someone who grew up vegetarian, I started eating meat, and then. A lot of people I talk to here don't like the grass-fed stuff. Oh. And I'm like, I think you're crazy because it tastes normal to me and the stuff which is not grass-fed tastes gross to me.
Yeah, a comment on the screen is commenting how Jane is pulling a Tom Cruise right now.
You guys are right. I love it.
This is a great podcast.
I mean, you can't. We talk so much good stuff about Texas.
Oh,
it's not like I came here and shout on. I came here and now I fucking listen to like outlaw country daily. It's like I've adopted certain aspects of the Texas life.
I mean, we're all here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So
speaking of great food critics, I'm beginning to actually like DJ Khaled, and I think he might be a genius because. Watch this.
Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. Look at this salad. Look at this salad. Can you see it? Is there a light? Can you see it? I've never seen a lettuce like this. Now, I'm not even making this up. This is a lobster salad. No. Look at this. Look at the cover of the lettuce. I've never seen nothing like it. Like, no. Everything is just so fresh and clean and beautiful. Like, even the lettuce is different out here. Like.
In the desert, right?
What the fuck is he on about?
I don't know, but have you seen the Double Rainbow video?
You mean like the old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if he's tripping all the time? No. It's like a weird act, I think.
I don't know. I think he's like Andy. The more and more I watch him, the more and more I like him. And I think he's like Andy Kaufman or something. Like it's just an elaborate joke where he's going to sleep on a bed of money every night, like doing this kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, it's almost like if you insist on your version of reality, people have no choice but to like interact with it.
It's watch this. Someone put together all the clips of him taking and putting on his glasses.
This look easy. Absolutely. It's fucking double platinum. All right. At one point, you're going to say, they don't believe in us. It's different, like what God did. I can't make this up. You know those are classics, right? I'm telling you the truth. I like what Drake like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's weird.
I think he might be a genius or something. Maybe not.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, he's obviously... It's a feedback loop because he's figured out what works in terms of attention, but I can't explain it.
Okay, so we've done enough like bad stuff from the internet. Danny or I came across this guy. What is it? Music AAZ. So Music RIYAAZ. He's a Indian classical music teacher, I believe, and performer, and he. I don't know if this is actually the exact way that it's notated, but I think he's notating it for at least to help people understand what's going on. And I had this idea because I love Indian music. We grew up with it. Our dad was always playing it, and you'd listen to it, and I always thought like I'm kind of getting it. I know what I can do. What they're doing. I have a pretty decent, proficient ear. And this guy started putting these videos out, just showing what they're doing. I'll play one or two of them, and I was like, oh, holy! I've never actually even heard Indian music before. I'm not hearing what they're doing at all.
pa ma ga re sa.
So, I mean, just the subtlety of everything he's doing and wiggling around notes, and it's not just one kind of vibrato or trill. There's just it's such a deep tradition of music that obviously goes so many layers deeper than even someone who's into it like I am was possibly aware.
Is that how they like? Is that how it's normally notated, or is that just like his way of like showing the way? Like
I don't know. Is the answer? I'm.
Does it say at the top of his page, is he a professor of music or something like that? Because that's like, it's such a, like you were saying, such a traditional music. Like, I don't feel like he could come to the States and be like, I'm having a course at wherever, Berkeley about Indian music. Let's get down with this.
Well, because you could hear at the end, he was basically just doing like the solfege scale on the way down, but like the way he was like marking it, like I don't know if it was like the actual distance between his dots were I don't know. It's definitely like aspects of it that are very.
Maybe it's. I have no idea. We should just find out at somebody. It looks like visual tools to.
Yeah.
But but even like that scale, it sounds to me like the tuning is a little more pure. Yeah. So like the third sounded.
Yeah.
Like it is modal. So like I think that one aspect of the music that is pretty interesting is that because you're in a mode, it opens up other possibilities because you're not trying to play changes and.
Did you guys go to school for music at all?
He did. He studied jazz for.
Yeah, I mean, I dropped out.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
Drop out. Start a band.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I mean, jazz. I learned a lot, and I studied jazz piano for a year and a half, and learned a lot. But part of the problem was it wasn't like a music conservatory, so you still end up doing like college stuff. And I was like, I don't want to keep doing English,
right,
and math and all that sort of stuff.
But it's almost as though in the kind of Western world, harmony was approached, this ever expanding thing. How do we keep expanding the 12-tone scale and making more? Well, first of all, start by tempering the whole thing so that we can play in different keys, and then the Indian music has been following a thousands-year traditions where they haven't tempered the scale. They're still playing modally, and it's like a different pursuit, but as if not more sophisticated than.
Well, we were talking about this with Dylan. He was saying that it's even deeper than that because every note then is associated with certain spiritual concept, with a certain physical pose, with a certain type of breath that coincides with that. Then a deity, that it's like, and it's such an intricate system that from the outside, people like Indian music. It's like it's like our scales is like a little different, and it's just such a fucking profound system. They play one more just to give a concept of that.
Sa ni ni da da pa ma ma ga ga re re sa. Sa ni ni da 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 pa ma 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 ga 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 re 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 sa.
It's like half steps, but like even smaller than that.
Yeah, I think that was 22 that they were breaking it down to. So that would be what, quarter? No, that's
24 would be quarter.
Yeah, quarter tones.
I mean, I don't know what the basis of the division, like, that's what I mean is like, it's not, in Western music, the octave is divided 12 parts equally now.
Yeah.
In Arabic music, there's a 24 tones division, so there's 24 divisions. I don't know if that's perfect though, if it's an equal temperament, but they pull 7-tone scales out of that, and from this, there's apparently 22 divisions that they usually pull a 7-tone scale out of that.
Right.
Did you have to study any of this?
No, I don't. We didn't ever. It was like fully.
Did you have to graph anything out like that? Jane studied vocals at her vocal study in Nashville.
Yeah, we had to. There was like a lot of ear training where you had to just know, like, I'm singing this or whatever, and like make some kind of similar symbols. And I would even like notate when I knew I had to like something. I would do little shrill things like that. But I've never, I guess, subdivided the scales to that degree, but that to me that's like what it is. It's like even closer than you think.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know. It's very interesting to think about, just in general, like the energetic symbols that certain notes vibrate and what that could mean in terms of like spiritual concepts and things.
Right.
That's something that I think we've like totally shut down in Western society. Like we don't think energetically or vibrationally how they affect us and what that could represent. But I'm sure that many cultures in the past knew exactly what it meant, you know?
I mean, that seems apparent.
I said I wasn't going to talk, but you probably can't see it. There's between M2 and M1, it's 1.07 cents.
1.07 cents. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, so he's not just doing equal subdivisions in 22. They're very specific things that are pulled out of breaking it into 100 points.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that is... we have deep thoughts that we often get into, which is our attempts at trying to be philosophical about things. But yeah, that is, I think, the ultimate power of music, is that it can be this transcendent thing, and it has generally been lost. Like, and it's nothing. There's nothing or no one to blame. But you know, when you go on TikTok and see what music is reduced to, which is like background for some shitty video, it's the one end of it. And like, there's no point even in complaining about it, even though I love to complain about that. But on the other side of the spectrum, what you see is what's been thousands-year traditions of music as not music for music's end. It's like music for something beyond that. And you know, even in Islam, I think you see. It always like all religions, things often get pulled into very political things. But you know, there was such a sacredness about music that now has come to the point in certain extreme things where no music is allowed, because it's, you know, it gets into like blasphemy and all that. But there is an element of that I almost agree with, where there was a bit more of a sacredness placed on music, so it had value because it can be so powerful. And when you take away some of that sacredness, you sacrifice the value. You know, it's at that you're sacrificing.
You can't create sacredness through force.
No, of course not. I think anytime you try to do anything by force, you lose the point. But nevertheless, it's not force, but it can be out there. It can be propagated as an idea that this could be a sacred thing if you want to use it as such.
Everything you're saying about this music, maybe I'm hungry or something like that, but it's totally equating to Indian food. We've talked about this a few times, where, I mean, you think how we use spices, or Indian culture will use spices, and it's exactly like this graph we're looking at. We don't know what's bringing out these flavors because we cook the way we cook, you know, but literally, like, is that gram masala? Is that curry we're talking about up there? Who knows? But I mean, all those spices were used for, you know, healing or religious beliefs, and it's just been compounded and compounded over and over again. Where we go to Indian restaurant, I want the tikka masala or whatever it is, you know, we just order it because it's mainstream now. And
I think you would probably in order to actually get a better sense of that music, you probably have to try to do it, because that's what helped me with Indian food, just trying to cook it, because it's until you do it, you don't realize, that's how they got that, or that's what that taste is meant to be, and that's what they're going for in this dish. You know, I always bring up Chef Va.
Oh, you're right. Yes, he's
the best dude on YouTube, and that's basic stuff that, like, I made a kadai masala for when did we have that? Whatever that we had curry there, and I had never really toasted the spices beforehand, and you know, he's always
like as they were dry, you were toasting.
Yeah, I just toasted them, and then then you make a fine powder out of half of them, and then you make a rough powder out of the other half, and then you start with some whole ones and all that kind of stuff. So it's like the spices burn differently when they're powdered as opposed to other. It's pretty fucking elaborate.
Yeah, it is.
You know, figured out.
I think this century or the next 30 years is going to be really interesting. I'm excited about it because India is becoming such a power in the world. And there's such an interesting thing because of the British influence there. They're the largest, someone was saying this, the most English speakers on the internet now are Indian.
Mm.
So you have this connection to the West via English language, as opposed to China, where obviously there's still more of a language barrier. But they're bringing, it's like there's gonna just be some crazy shit. 5,000-6,000 years of history and culture now coming into a very technologically driven society in India. It's
Mhm.
going to be a crazy fucking time and really interesting, I think, to see what India does as opposed to what's been going on. You know, I'm excited to see what happens. And Austin is this really good. That's one thing. There is good Indian food here, but
There you
again, it's
go.
not because of Austin.
Right.
It's because people are moving here for tech jobs.
Imported.
Many of whom often are Indian, so you get great food out of that. You know.
Hmm. Hey man, people want to move here, so there's got to be a reason, right? You know?
Barbecue.
No, it's not the barbecue. It's the guns.
All right, why don't we play Big Life, Congress reimagining of it? Make sure you guys all go stream that this Friday, Thursday night, midnight probably it'll be out. And then obviously go check out Jane Leo everywhere that they exist with Jane Leo Music on Instagram, YouTube, I'm assuming all the same. TikTok? You guys have a TikTok,
we have
yeah?
it. Damn it, we do. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the original Big Life video is just right. So your Instagram
right.
is all black and white. That's
Right.
the exact opposite of your Instagram. It's
If there was to be. Do you think, saying that we're getting all this good Indian food, do you think Indian music will creep into the Austin culture? Is that even possible? Could you imagine like the twang and the sitar?
I could see that.
The way it's happened, it's already happened. There is a receptivity towards Indian music with slide players.
Mm.
You know, because Derek Trucks, he pulled a lot of stuff from U Srinivas, this
Sure.
mandolin player, and now I can hear there's a bunch of slide players here in Austin, and they're all because they heard Derek
Right,
Trucks
of course,
or they heard
of
David
course.
Tronzo or one of these guys. They're realizing that there's more, and there is a link there because of those microtones that exists in blues and in Delta
Mm-hmm,
blues. And you know, if you ever listen to Ray Charles singing, he's singing, his tuning is that precise as well. You know, it's
that's
like
true.
a blue note for him is not the same as fucking Celine Dion doing some impression of what what she just epitomized the opposite of the value of blues to me. Anyway.
We're trying to get a segment going where Danny says Jesus Christ about something, and Celine Dion I could feel like would get you going there.
Yeah.
All right, let's play the So that is Big Life by Jane Leo. Make sure you go listen to the original. Like I said, so you can grade our work, see how badly we butchered it up. And yeah, I don't know if we've got anything more interesting to talk about. I feel like we've covered a lot of things. Anything you guys wanted to push, promote? Oh, lyrics, songs. Did you think of any songs?
What I loved about this reimagination is y'all literally changed the chorus. It's like it went from, you know what I mean, like refocus the chorus, and that didn't even dawn on me until like way later. So it was stuck in my head the old way where it's like,
right,
and then all of a sudden, it's funny as a brand new band to put out a remixed or reimagined version of yourself. Like, this is our fourth song out, and we're already like, let's reinvent our entire Jane Leo wheel. And I mean, same with, we're working with a label in Europe, and immediately sending it to them, they're like, crickets, silence. We're like, hey, did you guys get the video? They're like, yeah, it took us a few listens, but now we get it. And I was like, oh, okay. So we were already like, internally shaking it up before. I like it because, again, not being committed to this sound yet allows it to go all the way out to where y'all took it.
I love
it's
it.
awesome.
This version of the song gets stuck in my head more than the original one ever did. So,
I mean, we've never really had too many people remix our stuff, or we've had people, like, if you search "Come With Me Now" on iTunes, there's some like horrific like dance workout versions, but we've never had someone look at it. I think it's always interesting though, like even just internally, like if I send tracks to Danny or vice versa, they hear completely different things that you thought this was strong or weak, and then they're hearing it differently. And it's helpful, even if you don't release it. I feel like it's sometimes good just to get perspective of what other people hear in a song, because you get so close on what it is.
Totally. Like you said, the switching of what the chorus is, it makes certain lyrics pop out in a different way. You know, in this version.
Even our worst
obviously
lyrics.
You wrote the lyrics so you had the same feelings about them, but from a third party perspective, it's life is big, and I'm going to figure this out. That hooked me immediately, and it just has a funny idea that anyone, almost anyone, I think, is going to resonate with them, because it's just a funny way to put it.
For sure.
But also it's like a optimistic way to put it.
Totally.
I'm going to figure it out. Like it's funny to me. So that for me was like this.
There was a moment in writing it. I mean, again, we talked about this already because that included the whole, pandemic, whatever, blah, blah. But like in the process, I mean, it came out in like 2 days, right? That's how most of our favorite songs that we've written they happen, right? And then you look back and you're like, oh, that was awesome. But for me personally, I'm not the optimistic guy in the band, or I'm not the optimistic person in the band whatsoever. So to come out of the gate with, hey guys, isn't life really big? It's like, that's kind of, what does that even mean? Is that it good or is that bad? So but it comes off as hopeful. We're going to get through this. We're going to do this thing. But to come from me out of this band is very surprising.
But would you say, I think we can all, us, relate to not being the optimistic type, because we keep threatening to like write a happy song once, and we've never done it yet.
Right.
But would you say that your lyrics that you wouldn't characterize as optimistic do have optimism in them, in a dark or more introspective way? Because that's how I feel about our songs. A lot of people comment like, oh, it's a downer song from this and that. It's like, well, that's not actually how I was hearing it. It's like, it might sound harmonically or even lyrically down, but to me, that's where I feel my most optimistic often, is when you're examining what's like why you're down.
I think these lyrics, hit that right on the head, because it's there. If you listen to the verses, there's some questionable things, like what the main character is talking about, putting head to toe Vaseline on himself, because that's his vibe. Great, that's your vibe. You like brushing your teeth a whole lot. Whatever the case may be, we're all nuts, right? But hey, opportunity is out there, and we're gonna get through it. And being that it's like an upbeat beat and the BPM and everything, it feels like it goes hand in hand. But you look at the lyrics a little bit, and you're like, well, this lead character is, like, what was the movie you said? We couldn't think of the main character, American Psycho.
Oh, right.
This main character has,
elements of it.
Yes, it's synonymous, and but also synonymous with like a Lou Reed or Iggy Pop in that era of being produced by David Bowie. And And anyway, they were writing some pretty, you know.
I think who were we talking about? Nick Cage and Tom Hanks. The reason you like
to circle back on that.
Yeah. There's I think the reason you find sympatheticness in people is when there's obviously some actual vulnerability there. You know. So for me, the life is bigger and figure it out is immediately vulnerable lyric, even though it's funny, and that the reason that Tom Cruise stuff is kind of gives you the heebie-jeebies is because he's trying to hide his vulnerability at all times.
Right.
You know, and he is relatively invulnerable. I know he does his own stunts and he's in great shape for his age, but but at the same time, it's like, I wonder what it would look like for him to be vulnerable. He'd probably be like I'm going to be vulnerable now. I don't really know.
I think he's done it in certain roles, like
Does
in Magnolia as an actor.
I'm not like shitting on Tom
That's
Cruise.
one of the high watermarks, though. That Magnolia, you're like his seemingly vulnerable side is that his vulnerable side, or is what we just saw his vulnerable side, like that facade of laughter? Is that just how he connects?
He is an enigma, and I think like.
Does he cry in any movie? I can't remember. I can't think.
I feel like in Magnolia he does.
He's fucking amazing in that.
I mean that movie. Like I feel like I could have been good in that movie. It was so brilliantly written and directed.
He's good in Vanilla Sky.
Yeah,
that's true.
He's good in Born on the 4th of July. He's
oh my God! I mean, I think he's an amazing actor. I just to think about his vulnerable side brings out a whole new light to thinking about Tom Cruise. But Born on the 4th of July is one of the best. Oh man, I preach about Tom Cruise all the time, actually. And when I met Jane was like, "What the? You're a weirdo for liking Tom Cruise that much." And I'm like, "No, risky business. Just wait, you know." But
I feel like there's every relationship
comes out of the room. He just slides out.
As I'm trying to explain risky business, I'm actually in the outfit, like.
Dustin Hoffman.
No, risky.
I know, but what's the one?
The Graduate.
No.
Oh, Rain Man. Of course, yeah.
He won my heart in Rain Man.
Unreal.
Yeah. So just a quick question on Big Life. When you're writing it, you have in your head, you can't write the words "life is big" and then not be thinking that there could be commercial uses for this. So how do you deal with that? Like,
I wish
how much does that enter into your thought? And do you have to kind of push it back a little bit?
In the writing process, there is 0%. I know that sounds probably fake, but like 100%. Like we'll sit around and get these pitches all the time. Like do this, do that, whatever. But we were in the throes of writing probably 4 or 5 songs all at once, and in the moment, Jane had a bunch of her own stuff, and I had Leopold songs going on, and we drove out to West Texas, and it wasn't we unpacked and did all like get food ready and whatever. Then all of a sudden the next day walked upstairs and just wrote this thing, and it was like the most pure sense of writing I've had in years and years. And I really think that's what's showing in the song is that, oh my God, he had a breakthrough. Holy shit, good for you, good for him. It's like, because how often do we get that? But then Life is Big was, I want to say that was the first thing that came out. But again, there was no chorus yet. There wasn't even chords yet. So it was just the one that was at the top of the page, and constantly, meandering through the lyrical choices. Like that one did not get crossed off over and over and over again. And then, 100%, like, I don't know, it was one of the childlike moments because it took so long before I realized, because it's one of the only songs that I sing lead on in this band as well. So I was just like, okay, yeah, I guess it's good, and not mock humble, but honestly, like, yeah, I guess it's a good song. It should be on the album, but if it's not, it's okay, guys, and then the more, because again, we were in such a bubble. It was literally just Jane and I for years of creation. Then we met our co-producer, and he started, oh, that's good, this is good, and we're like, of course it's good. What do you mean? We brought it to you, and but then he actually helped us dial in what could be commercially successful or whatever.
I wish we knew how to monetize that.
Seriously, I wish we could take that song and be like, you'd think like a car commercial or something, or anything, Wheaties, anything, it's like.
Oh yeah, definitely has that potential. It's like getting, that's a whole different discussion, like how you get an ad person to see that.
I actually think Tell Me has got the most
That's what John said too.
Yeah.
John thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk real quick about lyrics and music for the week. I guess it's Little Richard's birthday today.
Oh,
turned 90.
That's crazy. I was going to
believe.
pull up a Little Richard song when we were looking at songs.
So yeah, so that's my
90.
my song for the week is Lucille. Literally, there's never been a better groove laid down. I don't think ever in the history of mankind. It just doesn't get better. And you go listen to, like, we were talking about this with Dad the other day because he was playing us some Elvis, and like Elvis is you can't talk shit about Elvis.
Sure.
You know, like he's a legend. But you listen to that back to back to like a Little Richard record, and it's just like. It's like listening to an imposter, a complete imposter.
Same with James Brown too. You know, you put
it's-
those two next to each other, and you're like, come on, guys, that's.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, the argument of not that this is anywhere in the same category, but y'all were in full swing of existing when Eminem came out, and I was in Detroit, and it was a huge thing. Like, oh no, you don't understand. Hip hop is like the best, and you're like, wait, you guys like are just tuning in because of this one guy, because he's the same skin color as you, or because he like wears the same beanies as you, or what the fuck is like, what's drawing you to hip hop because of this one person? And I feel like Elvis had that same thing.
Yeah, I don't
At
even
least
mind it.
Eminem
Like,
had Dre. Like Dre's still my favorite producer though
Mm.
in hip hop. You know, like I'm trying to think.
I mean, for what he did was great, but I mean, it was the converting of music from one culture to like this mass,
I think kids probably don't like see it that way now, but at the time that was a huge thing. It was
Right.
basically, he was like, Eminem makes jokes about it, like,
Oh, really?
I'm like, I'm like Elvis or whatever.
Oh, yeah?
You know,
No
yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, these Little Richard albums, we were listening to his gospel album before he got wild, and he was, and I think that's, even you listen to the early Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers versus pop Sam Cooke, and even in his own ecosystem, he's superior in that youthfulness, not guided by, monies or whatever, women or whatever it may have been that allowed him or pushed him to do those things. But Little Richard was the exact same. I mean, in his gospel days, he was exploring and influenced by other things. And but yeah, as soon as
So, is there a song you'd? Because I feel like I haven't dug deep enough on Little Richard. Like I know all the ones
Some of the
everyone
songs you were
knows.
playing the other day.
oh man, there are so many that, especially this gospel record. But I think Lucille is great if there's listeners that are like.
It's a good first song in because everyone will have heard it. At
For
some
people
point.
who are not familiar, if that's, it seems like to us, it's like, wait, you don't know who Little Richard is? Okay, that's cool. I'll talk to you next lifetime or some of it.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. I like it. I love finding stuff that I have been out of the loop on.
I've been watching Screaming Jay Hawkins interviews.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He's so funny because he talks shit about everyone. He's like, you talk about someone with no filter. He's just got zero filter. And how is it Little Richard he talks shit about? He talks shit about everyone. He's just, he doesn't hold anything back about anyone.
So the lyric that I picked this week is, because we have to have some kind of country lyric every week. There's a song Ramblin' Man, like everyone knows the original Hank Williams, but his grandson Hank Williams III does a version of it that I think is pretty damn good, compared to like that legend of a track. And I was listening to his lyrics. I went to New York before the pandemic, and my wife and I went to the theater because we're sophisticated, and saw a play called True West, written by Sam Shepard, and it had Ethan Hawke and Paul Dano, I think that's his name, were playing the main characters, and they finished the play with Ramblin' Man by Hank Williams, the original one, and the lyric is like weirdly obvious and then not. So I can settle down and be doing just fine till I hear an old train rolling down the line. Then I hurry straight home and pack, and if I didn't go, I'd believe I'd blow my stack. I love you, baby, but you got to understand, when the Lord made me, he made a rambling man. So obviously you can just take that for like what it appears to be describing, a dude who's a road dog. But in the context that Sam Shepard or whoever was the director of the play, or this thing, he used it in that play, and it was a weird metaphorical play about the dog inside all of us, that, you know, this internal battle between a left and a right. And he used that song in that context, and it just made me, this is another one of those lyrics that's just got like an onion. There's so many layers to it. You know, it's definitely not, and what it appears to be initially. And maybe that's just me projecting, but I feel like that's projecting into lyrics is a valid thing, because sometimes songwriters don't know what they've touched into. I mean, I say that because like sometimes I've written things like come back years later and be like, oh, that's actually what I was getting at, but didn't know I was getting at that. When finally some understanding might hit me, you know, like 6-7 years later.
I think that's the best case scenario. Like you're just saying about Big Life, like no idea what was going on, and then looking back, I mean, even the tangible things of what was to come, you know, pre-pandemic, and then what happened. There's no way for anyone to know. Yeah. There's no way. And as a 20-year-old, what you're writing, if it stands the test of time in your mind, holy shit, how lucky are you to look back and be like, yeah, I was pretty cool. I really knew what I was talking about. That's
the only downside to that is when you've written, like I've written 1 or 2 songs that in retrospect I'm actually very proud of.
Right.
And I can't do it again. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Oh no.
Where'd that guy go?
Seriously, so many times.
Yeah.
What'd you pick this week, Dan?
I picked one song here, Laura, I've Tried Everything But You by Jerry Lee Lewis. And I just like the opening line because, he didn't write this stuff, but he's got taste, and his delivery, he just comes out the gate swinging, Jerry Lee Lewis. Like, he's got one song, Home Away From Home, and it starts with, it all began the day my conscience died, which is fucking out the gate swinging. And this one's, I guess I've tried about everything from drinking to hiding my wedding ring. I've gambled and I've cheated and walked on a friend or two. He's fucking great. He's just the best. He's got those dead eyes. Have you ever watched interviews with Jerry Lee Lewis?
No.
Oh, man. He's called Killer for a reason. Like, there's even rumors that he killed one of his wives and stuff like that. I got told a story. Don't know if it's true. It's like, this is like a 7th-hand story about Jerry Lee Lewis. But he was in L.A. Some guy saw him at the Roxy or something like that and said, hey, man, Jerry, I'm a massive fan. Just, you know, I love you. And Jerry Lee Lewis says, oh, thanks, man. I like your jewelry. Because the guy was decked out in jewelry. 2 a.m, Jerry Lee Lewis's bodyguard beats the shit out of the guy and takes his jewelry.
Wow.
Gives it to Jerry Lee Lewis. And, like, you hear it adds up. The guy was out of his fucking mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. He Tommy guns and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Have y'all heard the band Cactus?
No.
It was, the lead singer reminds me of that. The lead singer is his name's Rusty Day. Funnily, that's not a word, but the character from Three Amigos, Rusty Day.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's not a commonality there whatsoever. But anyways, this lead singer is Rusty Day. He's from Detroit. That says a lot about him to me already. But if you listen to the band, it's the rhythm section from Vanilla Fudge from like the 60s psych rock days. Anyways, they Rod Stewart prefaces. I guess it was mid his, Faces era. They begged him like, please come in this band. We've got all these songs, and Rod Stewart is Rod Stewart. No, it's so hard to talk about these guys now because Rod Stewart's corny as hell, and you think like these ballads and shit. But back in the day, he could slay. Anyways, they asked him. He's like, fuck no, you guys are psycho. So they got this dude Rusty Day. You got to listen to this album, just the first Cactus album. It's so fucking wild. It's like. It's everything you'd want to be, everything you could imagine you'd want to be as a early 20s. Like, I want to be a rock and roll star. This is it. Just like booze fueled craziness. Yeah. And anyways, long after the band's over, Rusty Day's in Florida, like all people from Michigan do. They moved to Florida, and he's caught with pounds of cocaine and assault rifles and everything else. And it's like, how did you get from this to that? And that's very Jerry Lee Lewis-esque. Wait, you started here at such like a pure, like Stax. Have you been to that museum in Memphis? It's the room a quarter the size of this, and the room we're sitting in, and supposedly 1 or 2 microphones. How do you get from that? Like just this pure song persona to beating people up for their jewelry, like you didn't have enough money from your songs or something.
I don't know, like if you're not on the receiving end, I like that. I like that about him. You know, obviously I wouldn't, want to be on the receiving end of that. And obviously, you know, objectively, just if that's true, which I don't know if it is true, but he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, no doubt.
But
I mean,
for the sake of like fucking myth and you know like the aspect of life which like admires
right.
Well,
that,
dude,
you know,
it's
big life. You know?
It's the exact opposite of like imagine. So that's the one extreme is that those kind of people you hear about, James Brown, you know, like those stories.
Right.
Or he could be like having a TikTok account. Like imagine like
right,
like,
yeah, of course.
How crazy it could go in one direction or how pathetic it could go in the other direction. So you do like romanticize the wild man, the crazy people that are out there doing crazy shit.
I think that's probably what it is. It's not the morality. It's the idea that a person is alive still and not just a fucking clone.
It's Steppenwolf, man.
Right,
everyone like has that the appeal of the wild fucking animal, but
the only indication
basically
is,
like too afraid to encounter. You know,
right.
I mean, the last time it was publicized was like, that's why hip hop was such a entity, you know, late 90s anyways. Everyone was getting shot and, you know, like all these beefs and all this stuff. And it kind of died, or it was kind of like theater more so in the rock world to see like whatever bands.
The new thing is the thing that is like on the edge, and that in the 90s that was hip hop. And now hip hop has become so incorporated that it's basically... It's, you know, it's as irrelevant as rock.
all musics are the same now. It's just like it's either good or bad at this point. It's like, does it fall into this or that side? It's
Listen, Miles Davis, the same things. I don't fucking know. It's either good or bad.
Oh well, it's true. Yeah.
He also, my favorite Miles Davis line is, he's asked about paintings, and he says, "Yeah, I paint shit, you know, other artists paint shit, but they paint like flowers and shit."
That's a good note to probably end the podcast on. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks for letting us work on your track. Hopefully we work together on a couple more. It'd be good to get you in here and like maybe just do something from scratch, see where it goes. We can write a car commercial.
Yeah, let's do that.
We should just do no art, all money music.
Let's write a swimming pool, as John Lennon said.
So make sure you guys go check out Jane Leo Music, Instagram, all those places, and then stream this song, obviously Thursday night or Friday when it's out. And we'll see you guys next week talking about the same stuff, probably.